The Seahawks had their first chance to really test their mettle, see where they stand this year after a hot 3-0 start as they traveled on the road, primetime, Monday Night Football, to take on a Detroit Lions team that is one of your more high-quality teams in the NFL, at least, the very least in the NFC. A playoff contender, no doubt about that. And the Seahawks, sadly enough, were not able to stand very tall. Perhaps maybe on the offensive side of the ball, but defensively, you had no to very little resistance to provide up against this Detroit offense, and understandable at that. The Seattle Seahawks were coming down 5/7 of their starting front seven. And that's going to make it a long day at the office when you're trying to overcome that decimation of injuries. I want to give Detroit their flowers in this one. They played a really good game, and as an offense, they were a well-oiled machine. There was no doubt about that. They had their own injuries they were dealing with to counterbalance some of this, but I would say the Hawks had quite a few more when it was all said and done on this. And let's also remember that a big part of why the Seahawks are doing this, having so many guys that are out of this game, is that yes, you had all those guys injured, but it was also a load management situation where you're looking at the next 11 days and you're going to have to play 3 games. And that's a lot. That's a lot on an NFL body. Back in the day, 20 years ago, you'd have a whole 7 days every week to recover and get ready for that next game. And so the coaching staff had to plan a little bit of this in advance in this situation. Fans may not like that, but there was no way around it. And so that's why you held out a lot of guys, even if they were on the line. They probably got held out. It's a playoff game. They could have played, but they didn't play. And so your defense was, by and large, kind of decimated, especially up on that front seven. The Detroit Lions were able to take advantage of that early on in this game, really just run it right down your throat into the A and B gaps, and there were some big holes to be had down there. Your defense then had to really load up on stopping the run. The play action pass then worked with Goff, who went on to have one of the best days of his career. Goff didn't have one incompletion in this game. 18 of 18. For 292 yards. He was absolutely everything of what you would not want him to be. Comfortable, able to set up in the pocket, go through his reads, pretty much unharassed through most of this day. You had a couple of sacks, but there was not a lot of consistent pressure. He was very comfortable, and Goff has shown time and again, if you let him hit that back foot, you let him be comfortable in what he's reading, and you let him just let that ball rip, he can cut you up as well as any quarterback in this sport, and he showed you that in this game. But from a Seahawks standpoint and their defense and those backups that were out there, you'd hoped maybe McDonald could manufacture some things. He wasn't really able to do so. The Seahawks did try to bring some blitzes in this game. They were a little bit of weird blitzes, I would say. A lot of Witherspoon being sent on the blitz. And I thought of in this game, you would have had more of Witherspoon on Amon St. Brown, more of Jamison Williams on Tariq Woolen. There wasn't as much of that seemingly at play. There wasn't as many sort of man-based concepts you would have thought maybe we're going to be at the forefront in this game coming into it, being that you were going to maybe try to help out with some more bodies down around the line of scrimmage because you were so light there. I don't think you really felt that from McDonald. And there would be even times where you would blitz and you would come back and then run zone on the backside. Jamison Williams with a big game-breaking play in this game has a crossing route where he goes across the field, and you're having Witherspoon hand it off on that or you're having Tariq Woolen hand that off to Witherspoon on the other side of the field on that crosser. Witherspoon's got to come off his first coverage and then pick up Williams. Doesn't work. Williams is wide open. He takes the catch, takes it right up the field for a touchdown. Completely broken coverage on the play. But odd that you're going into zone off of the blitz like that, and none of the blitzes got home or got close to getting home on this day. If you did get any kind of sacks, it was really on just the guys getting the win up front, Jaron Reed, Derek Hall, and then Draymond Jones at the end getting a safety on a final sack. So a very poor day from a defense that, yes, was undermanned. There's really not a lot to unpack here. It was bad all the way around. Goff was able to do whatever he wanted to do throwing the ball. He was able to live in the middle of the field. Again, coming into this game, you want to stop him and running the ball up the middle. You wanted to make Goff uncomfortable in the pocket, and you didn't want him to let him slice and dice you up in the middle of the football field. 1, 2, 3, you let all 3 of them happen. It's no surprise then when you come out on the other side of this with the loss. You let the Lions do what they wanted to do, and they took well advantage of this defense. Also on the other side of it, tackling was a little bit of an issue in this game. A lot of guys slipping off ball carriers for the Detroit Lions. I think there was like 300 yards passing in this game from Jared Goff, and something in the neighborhood of like 250 of that was yak yardage. Yards after the catch, as your Seahawks just at times couldn't bring the guys down to the ground. And this is a little bit odd from what we've seen so far this year, of course. When there have been completions, you've immediately taken those guys to the ground. Coming into this game, you weren't giving up more than 140 yards in the air. Now, you hadn't gone up against a challenge like this Detroit Lions offense, but that's quite a difference from where you were from one to the other. Again, a big part of this is that undermanned part of it. And again, the undermanned part of it is those guys are coming back to the ranks. There is a part of this that you're planning for the reasoning as to why you were a little thin. But I think you just felt that, in addition to maybe the coaching staff not having their best day on that side of the ball, and in addition to maybe some of the players on the defense maybe not having their best day on that side of the ball. It all worked together for a nice, good crap sandwich over there, and we ate every last bit down to the last crumb. Offensively speaking, it was going to be a day where they were going to have to carry a tremendous amount of the load in this one. You're going to have to almost score every single time, if not score every single time. 2 years ago, Geno Smith had this offense where they scored every single time. They couldn't punt once on the day, where you would have lost the game. And pretty much history repeated itself here today where that was going to have to be the case. Geno and the boys just couldn't quite hold it up. You had them driving early on. They got down there where there was a fumble early on DK Metcalf where you're feeling like, okay, we can stand toe-to-toe with them offensively. DK's just stretching for an extra yard there. The ball gets knocked out as he's trying to just fight for extra yards. They get the fumble back. They return it up the football field, and they kind of get up on top of you. All of a kind of a worst-case scenario situation there where your defense instantly gives up a touchdown. You then allow, not instantly, they'd have an early stop, but quickly give up the touchdown. You have the fumble on the other side of it. It just doesn't, work well for you on that side of it to begin things, and it just didn't go great for me there, defensively speaking. But Geno Smith was absolutely, once again, in masterclass phase here. Through 2.5 quarters, as has been the case through many of these initial games, he doesn't have a lot of support in the running game. The defensive side isn't helping him out on it. He's got his playmakers on the outside, but even a DK is getting a fumble for you in there and switching fields as you're really playing well. It was going to be on his golden arm today, and he carried a lot of that burden, throwing for almost 400 yards, making excellent decisions. He throws 56 times in this game. You have an interception at the end where he's got to force it in there. There's no extra downs. You're at the end of the rope. You've got to basically force it even into tight coverage, making a decision you wouldn't typically make. But his decision making, as it's been throughout this year, as it's been for 2 years, was great again today. And it wasn't an easy task. This isn't the easy 400 yards to be had. Yes, the Detroit secondary was beat up. They're down a couple guys, and there's some places for you to attack in there. But as I said, didn't have much of a running game to lean on early in this game, had to really carry the load throughout. And I thought he was just fantastic, working the ball all over the place, finding open people, getting out of trouble, using his legs when he needed to use his legs, getting throws off, even as pressure is bearing down his face, standing tall in the pocket, whipping that ball with velocity and accuracy at times on off-platform throws. I really can't understate how impressive Geno Smith has been throughout this year early on, as you saw it in training camp where you're seeing the best version of him, and you are seeing that now continue on through this year as now he's leading the NFL in passing yardage. So Geno Smith continues, as I thought, coming into this year to be on pace to be having the best year of his pro career, and I think we saw some more of that again here today. God can only wonder what'll happen here once you actually get him the consistent running game. Pass protection held up pretty well today, so I got to give them more of a tip of the cap than I got to say that he had to overcome that, but he did overcome it at times. He did deal well with the pressure when it was bearing down upon him. But Geno Smith was absolutely fantastic in this game. If you had a chance deep into this fourth quarter to still go back and steal this game away, it was in large part because of Geno Smith. The pass catchers did pretty well as well on the other side of it. Yes, DK had the fumble. Yes, there was a holding call in this game as well. That was a legit holding call on him, but he was really good as a pass catcher. Great toe tap, drag, swag play early on in this game on a catch of just kind of a back shoulder catch there. But he was eating up Carlton Davis in this game. I think he caused a couple of PIs from Carlton Davis, who was getting very grabby on him and wasn't trusting things on that side of it. You continue to see Grubb using DK very creatively, bringing him on a drag route on a 3rd and 7, throwing him to the drag route, letting him get up the football field and get the first down. Once again, we got to see DK in the slot. And with NFL teams, they want to put on DK their number one corner. So they want to use their outside number one corner on DK, which means that when you move him into the slot, you're taking a guy that wants to play on the outside. And as we've learned in the past, outside corners want to be outside corners. Inside corners usually want to be inside corners. And so when you take that outside guy and you move him inside, he gets really uncomfortable. And Seahawks ran that slot fade there to DK right there with that Carlton Davis following him out there in the slot. And DK was able to take the top off the defense. Grubb showing you there's some creative ways to get DK acclimated in this offense without just lining him out on the outside and expecting him to go win the matchup every time or run into double coverage every time. Really like to see the way Grubb used DK. And I think you've got to say to Grubb in this game that he called a pretty fantastic game. He got a little bit away from the running game early on here, a little bit too pass happy, I thought. Some of that's just, I think, an outcropping extension of the fact that the defense was giving up points pretty much every drive, so your offense was going to have to score every drive and kind of fast at that. He eventually did find his way back to the running game. Kenneth Walker was magical at times in running the ball in this game, showing you why I do believe that he's a top 5 back in this league and that there has been way more production for us to get out of this guy as we can get the blocking better. And he showed that to you in this game when you simply started to make an adjustment in this game versus where you've seen from him prior, more of a use of working him to the edges. There's been a lot through his first 2 years of just hammering him up the middle and not trying to get him outside. Seahawks did that in this game a lot and found a lot of success with it. He also had one of the more incredible moments you will see from a running back ever, where he's out in the open field. He needs to go get a first down. He first gets flipped over, like suplexed over, lands on his feet once. The defender realizes he's landed on his feet, so he suplexes him back over. He lands back on his feet on the second suplex, keeps his feet, and then goes and gets the first down. A Herculean effort from Kenneth Walker today, coming back from that oblique, showing you have a difference maker there at that position and how hard this offense is going to be able to play when you have him and you've got those pass catchers on the outside, and then you can work Charbonnet in a little bit as well. It makes it one of the most dangerous offenses in the NFL when it's cooking and going right. Amazing play. Then you've got him down nearby the touchdown. You're calling a little A-gap power run. There's penetration. They're pushing him in the backfield. He bounces off the penetration, gets wide, gets to the edge, gets to the pylon, touchdown. Had some other great highlight runs in this game, but he is a difference maker at the position, and his return is huge for this offense because he is going to keep defenses honest. You can't just sit there and sit on our passing game because he's going to keep in that mode. Not that Charbonnet can't do his part as well, but you're even more dangerous when you have Walker on the field. And how about Grubb in this game as well, late in the game, coming up with some creative calls. Even the one where Lockett gets called for the DPI, which I thought was silly at that time. They called him for a DPI at late where we got a first down conversion, and boy, that really changed the complexion of the game in that moment. But even that was a great play call to get a sprint option for Geno out to JSN. It was open. It would have been a first down, would have moved the chains. But really the great call of the day was the 3rd and 16, where the Seahawks up until that point were 0 of 18 on the year on 3rd and 10 plus situations. Not one conversion to be had. Grubb knows this. Well, I got to get a little creative now then, don't I? So you run a little drag route with JSN. You complete it. Defenders rally up on JSN. Looks like you're going to get stopped short again. But JSN's got a little trick of the trade here because Charbonnet is coming up. He throws the hook and ladder play to Charbonnet. Charbonnet runs it up, gets the first down. You're set. You got the first. You're still rolling. I really love the play call there by Grubb, not to just keep pounding his head against the wall there, but find a creative solution in that moment. Later in the game, he even got a touch in there to Laviska Shenault on a little pop pass play to get him up the field. Grubb did a very good job, I think, of working around some of the constraints that were at play in this game. Let's remember, they are still down 2 of their right tackles, and yet you were still able to throw for 400 yards. You were able to still find 133 yards on the ground. You were able to control the clock and control the time of possession in a game where your defense was not able to do much of anything over there, and they needed as much help as they could kind of get. And absent that one fumble from DK, the offense held up, I think, their end of the bargain and did what they could in this game. It was just the defense had no real resistance to provide. Special teams did fine on their side of it. You did try a 62-yarder with Jason Myers that he missed at the half, but you can't ding him for that. That's almost close to an NFL record long kick. He's got a big leg, but you're not going to expect him to be hitting no 62-yarders. Dixon did fine on his side of it as well. So a tough loss for your Seahawks. But there is no jumping off any bridges or building ledges. This team is a good team. This team is improved. Mike McDonald is the right coach. And this team is going to be a contender this year in this NFC. They took a tactical decision to rest some guys here, understanding that that Giants game looks very winnable at home, and you want to be able to take down these teams in your division. Before you get starry-eyed to the rest of the NFC, rest of the NFL, Super Bowl, you got to take care of your own division. You're looking at that Niner game on Thursday night, and you want to make sure you're set to be able to take them on, or at least as close to full strength as you possibly can be. So fans probably don't like that you're informed a little bit in your decision in this kind of game to operate that way from McDonald's standpoint, but I understand it. And again, you did hang in there strong with this team on the road. You were in it down the line as bad as the defense played. So to me, much more encouraging to walk away from in this game, to be discouraged by. Are there things to clean up? Are there things to fix? Absolutely. But we knew there was going to be some bumps in the road with this new coaching staff. It's not all going to be milk and honey right from the jump. Got to be patient with that. My name is Brandon Kane. This is the Hawks Nest. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. But beyond all that, don't you ever forget, go Hawks.